On October 30th, 1967, Paul McCartney, Mal Evans, and cameraman Aubrey Doer traveled to France to film a sequence for the song The Fool on the Hill. Their goal was to capture a surreal, dreamlike scene in various scenic locations around Nice. However, McCartney encountered an unforeseen issue. He had forgotten both his passport and money. Despite this, he managed to convince customs officials to allow him entry. "I told them, 'You know who I am, so why do you need to see a photograph of me and a passport?'" he later recalled. No filming took place on the first day. Instead, the group checked into a hotel and hired a taxi driver who woke them at 3:30 a.m. the following morning for the shoot. The actual filming for The Fool on the Hill took place the following day. Peter Brown recalled the situation in The Love You Make, an insider's story of the Beatles. "One day, I received a call on the Beatles' private line. It was Paul, and it sounded like a long-distance call. 'Where are you?' I asked. 'I'm in Nice, France,' Paul replied. 'We found the perfect hill, but we don't have the right lenses. Could you have them shipped to us along with some money?' I was perplexed. 'Nice? Perfect hill? What are you talking about? How can you be in France? I have your passport.' Paul explained that he had flown to France to film a scene for Magical Mystery Tour, where he would be sitting on a picturesque hill singing The Fool on the Hill. Without notifying anyone, he had managed to bluff his way through Heathrow by claiming his passport was waiting for him in France. Upon arrival in Nice, he informed the French authorities that his passport would be arriving by messenger, and they allowed him entry on special dispensation. By the time the crew returned to London, the cost of the single shot of Paul on the hill amounted to £4,000. Paul McCartney later described the filming process. "I did a sequence for The Fool on the Hill with some friends in France. We couldn't really be called a crew, because we would have needed dozens of cameramen, but we didn't want that. The union rules in the UK wouldn't allow just one cameraman. But in France, they didn't have the same restrictions. So we went there. There were just 4 of us. No stage manager, no lighting crew, nobody. The biggest risk was that the film didn't adhere to any union regulations. We asked a local taxi driver where the best place was to see the sunrise. Nice, with its mountainous terrain, seemed ideal, and I figured it would be a perfect spot. We took a taxi up into the mountains, set up the camera, and waited in the cold for the sun to rise. During the shoot, I just danced, improvising and guiding the cameraman. More to the right, take this angle. We had a tape recorder to roughly match the song. There was no clapperboard, and I didn't worry about the technical details. The filming was spontaneous, just like the whole project. We stayed there until the sun went down. As daylight brightened, the quality of our footage worsened, so we primarily used shots taken at dawn. It all felt very natural. But when we started editing, we realized I wasn't singing in sync with the soundtrack. Mal Evans reflected that the trip, like many others, was impulsive without luggage or documentation. Despite lacking a passport, Paul passed through immigration without issue, although they were initially denied entry to the hotel restaurant due to their appearance. They then visited a nightclub. "We had dinner in my room," Mal said. "The only money we had was what we spent on clothes, with the understanding that money would be sent from England, through the Beatles office." After the first round of drinks, we arranged with the manager to extend credit. The next day, Mal and Paul returned to the club, still without funds. We took advantage of our credit, but word about Paul's visit had spread, and the place was packed. Paul, being generous, had racked up quite a bar tab. When the actual manager arrived and demanded payment, we explained the situation, but he said, "You either pay, or I'll call the police." It was ironic sitting there with a millionaire, unable to pay the bill. Eventually, the hotel manager covered the cost. Despite the numerous challenges, McCartney's determination to capture the perfect shot for The Fool on the Hill serves as a testament to his creative ingenuity and willingness to take risks.